Hello and welcome back to the Villa View for another match preview. It's another derby day. It's West Bromwich Albion against Aston Villa. I'm here with James Rushton to preview the game. James, how are you tonight?
Oh, good man, especially after the last week of football, beating Middlesbrough, the best defence in the league, as we said, and by some margin. We thrashed them, so it's always good to see going into this really high spirit. So yeah, glad to be back on.
How do you think that game will affect us now? Because obviously you look to build momentum in football, and going to someone like Middlesbrough away and winning 3-0, you can't do better than that, can you?
No, in simple words, no, you really can't. When you look at the statistics, and I think it is a victory for the old school, because you look at Middlesbrough's stats, their defensive stats, their capability at the back, and then you combine that with Villa and the way Middlesbrough play. Villa shouldn't really have much. They couldn't win it. It's winnable, but it shouldn't be 3-0. It shouldn't be that dominant either. So, yeah, I think we can take a lot from that. But we also got to keep a hold of ourselves. You know, football tends to punish those who overreach. If Villa start pushing forward and trying to dominate every single game, maybe it's something they can do. We have the squad to do that. But I've certainly seen teams better than Villa get punished for doing that.
Yeah, do you think that there's the potential that this Albion game could be a little bit of a reality check for Villa if it doesn't go to plan and say we lose the game and we draw the game 0-0, 1-1? Will that sort of set us back a little bit and think, okay, we're not as good as we think just yet?
A loss or a draw is on the cards. It's always, you go away to West Bromwich Albion. Albion shouldn't be losing at home to anyone in the league, especially Villa. They shouldn't be losing to any team in the league if they're looking to go up at home at the Hawthorns.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely on the cards that Villa slip up. They're two really equal teams going into it. They score a lot of goals and they seem to concede a fair bit. Very similar. West Brom have conceded less and scored more than Villa, but Villa's stats have weakened. Their scoring margins have weakened by how poor they were early on this season. But they're catching up.
It might be worth a
big
comparison to do the since Dean Smith's come in compared to Albion, of what those games have been like. I mean, maybe ours are a little bit oversaturated with the last week scoring 12 goals, whatever it is, and maybe that would boost our numbers a little bit. But like you say, it probably averages out that under Bruce we weren't scoring. So, like you say, it's fairly similarly matched.
Yeah, I'm really happy to say and go on record as saying these teams are perfectly even. In many ways. They go forward, they like to play on the front foot on all occasions, and they're quite sloppy at the back, not necessarily in terms of conceding goals, but at least letting teams make chances. You can't discount the fact that Middlesbrough had a few good chances, and it was only through, dumb luck and Orjan Nyland that they didn't score.
Yeah, I remember listening to some of BBC WM towards the start of the season where they talk about players just walking through their defence. Like, is it Higazi and Dawson? Do they both start still?
I seem to believe that's the case. I haven't paid much attention to Albion this season. I watched one game when they played Forest, and that was right at the start of the season, and that was chaos. Johnston almost got buried from the halfway line. It was just everywhere. Gale had hit the post twice in the last minute. It was crazy. So they are very much Villa in that sense.
I've written a few stats down south, but third in the league, 5 points off the top, most goals scored with 42 in the whole league, but conceded 28. Compare that to Villa, scored 39, conceded 30. So I think in terms of goals scored and conceded, you couldn't get any closer ahead of this game. So it all leads to you thinking, expecting goals on Friday night.
Yeah, you say that, but this could either be like Nottingham Forest, where both teams are poor at defending and good at scoring them and converting those chances, or it's just a 0-0.
Yeah.
Both teams just cancel each other out in the middle of the park. That can happen. I don't think that will be the case. I think there'll be goals in this. Whether they're positive goals for Villa, we'll have to see, because this is really a test for Villa. And hey, as good as Villa are doing, and how much I appreciate their play style, good teams still get beaten. That's okay. Eventually, Villa will lose this season. And that should happen. Villa should lose this season at some point. Whether it will be against West Brom on Friday, I'm not sure, but I think there's a good case to be made that West Brom can beat Villa. They should do it. It's their home stadium and they're playing well.
Yeah, again, referring to my notes, I put Albion got a great side with plenty of recognisable names. I'll read a few off. Sam Johnson, Gibbs, Dawson, Livermore, Gareth Barry, Harvey Barnes, Rodriguez, Gale. The list just goes on and on. They've got a big squad of sort of high-profile names, especially in championship terms, at least, with big players that will and can turn up in big games.
They did some. I don't know how good their transfer window is, but bringing in Harvey Barnes as a masterstroke, he's really made a name for himself. But again, you got Dwight Gale, I believe they swapped him straight. They swapped out Rondon, which is that struck me as odd. But Rodriguez, Barnes, and Phillips seem to be backing up, and Dwight Gale's Dwight Gale, and he'll put him away in this league.
Yeah.
Sam Johnston, we all know how good he is, and I'm not too sure how well he's kicking on at West Brom, because he was magnificent last season for Villa.
Again, I remember talk of fans saying that he wasn't as good as Villa fans were saying he was, and that he didn't have the best of starts to the season. I've put a few stats down to compare him to Neeland, because we've got to have our weekly Neeland section on the preview. If I can just get to them. So here's just like the basic, like it's called top stats. So you've got Johnston. Actually, I'll tell you what, I'll read you them both and you can tell me which one's which. Little game for you.
Okay.
So goals conceded per match, 1. Saves made per match, 3. Clean sheets, 5. 0 penalty saves. Neeland or Johnston?
Johnston.
Neeland?
Oh, that was surprisingly good. Maybe that we're barking up the wrong tree sometimes then. I don't know. I have to hear Johnston's first.
Johnston, 1 goal conceded per match, that's the same. 3 saves per match, that's the same. 2 penalty saves, but only 1 clean sheet all season.
1 clean sheet all season?
20 matches played versus 18 for Neeland. 1 clean sheet for Johnston, 5 for Neeland.
Ooh, that's pretty bad.
Like there's goals in every Albion game they score and they concede. I think the 1 clean sheet was something like the 20th of September or something like that, and I went and scrolled back and that was the first one. Whereas we've had, 4 under Smith already?
Yeah, and Neeland, he's responsible for many of our clean sheets. Like, we wouldn't have... Yeah, I mean, he's made his mistakes, but he's played a big hand. It hasn't been like the other team didn't attack or didn't have a shot. He's been responsible for some big saves for those clean sheets. He's earned those clean sheets for sure. Having
said that, looking at those stats, does that matter? Is it important to, he makes 1 save a match or 3 saves a match? Is that important? Because we've watched Neeland and seen that, he makes a few great saves, but he'll also make a fair few mistakes. We don't know. I haven't seen any stats to back up whether sort of errors lead into a goal for either team. I would guess that Neeland's made more mistakes that have led to goals or led to points dropped than Johnston has, but again, I haven't seen enough of Albion to know for sure whether that's true. But looking at those top stats of goals conceded per match, they look pretty even.
Yeah, definitely. It's really hard to quantify a goalkeeper's performance in anything other than clean sheets.
Yeah,
literally. Most people in analytics in football, it's quite buried away. How they judge goalkeepers. Are you judging it on their passing success, how good they are with the ball? Are you judging it on saves made? Because saves made could just indicate the defence is crap.
Yeah,
and letting him have loads of saves. We don't really know how to quantify that. So comparing that stat line of Nyland with Johnston, it doesn't tell you much at all. I know StatsBomb released like a radar, the stats radars they do, and they said it was really hard to kind of know how good a goalkeeper is because it's so subjective. I mean, we were talking about errors.
Yeah,
some things you'd certainly class as an error, like straight up Darren Randolph against Villa for Middlesbrough. That's an error.
And the one for Birmingham scored the other day as well. Can't remember who that was against. Just came straight at the keeper and he just fumbled through his legs.
Declan Rudd.
That is a goalkeeper error, but is being beat at your near post. Does that count as an error? Just coming for a cross from a corner and fumbling it a bit, but it goes in from the second ball. Is that a goalkeeper error, or did the defence not do their job to clear it away either? Like, it's such a what a
midfield error is.
Yeah, exactly. It's hard to be able to say, this is a goalkeeper error and this isn't. They both might lead to goals, but is there more of a collective fault for the defence? Like, we look at the 5 clean sheets for Neeland, but some of that will be because the defence was good that game as well. It isn't just down to the individual, and likewise with Johnston only having 1 doesn't mean that Albion's defence isn't good either. It's just that maybe they've conceded 1 goal in a few more games, but they beat Leeds 4-1, so he didn't get a clean sheet that game, but they battered Leeds, so clean sheet doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I know there was this is getting a bit brainy now, but there was expected saves, like expected goals, and it hasn't really took off at all, and there's not really a mainstream way yet of identifying a good keeper other than clean sheets, and Nyland's got more than Sam Johnston, so if we're judging it by that, he's better. But I don't know. Yeah,
and I feel I can hear the comment section already saying, well, I've watched Nolan play and I've seen him make mistakes, that means he's not a good keeper. And yeah, fair enough if that's what you think. I'm not here, this isn't a pro or anti Neeland argument or pro anti Sam Johnston argument. I was literally just scrolling through and thought it was an interesting comparison to make between the two, because Johnston was a great keeper and he is a great keeper, but just looking at those stats blind, you didn't know which one was which. So just going off that, can you tell which is the better goalkeeper, or is it because we've watched Neelan for 18 games and we know that he's got a mistake in him?
Going off that expected saves I was talking about, they're looking at defensive metrics and how to, rate a goalkeeper. The best goalkeeper in 2016 in the Premier League apparently was Mark Bunn. And that's a lot, that's I ain't having that. I'm sorry, I'm not having that. There's too much context. There's too much context misplaced.
Yeah.
In judging a goalkeeper, and when the numbers are run, Mark Bunn faced. He played 188 minutes and made more saves than anyone else, but that's because he was crap.
You can almost argue what is an error for any position. Is a striker missing a one-on-one effort? Is that an error, or was it poor technique, or the keeper put him off? Did the defender put him off? Is it, if someone makes a reckless tackle by mistake, does that count as an error? If it doesn't lead to a red card, does that mean you got away with it? Like, what an error is in football and whether it leads to anything is probably hard to summarise as a whole, let alone just for a keeper. You can look at a keeper and go, oh, he conceded a goal from that, so that's an error. We'll notch that down. But if, for example, James Chester gives away the ball in defence and who was it? Birmingham maybe, they got the corner from it and they scored from that. So is that Chester's error because that goal wouldn't have happened if he'd just cleared it? Like, you could just go on and on with what counts as an error and what doesn't.
Yeah,
so going to sit here and try and analyse it is probably a little bit silly.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's perfectly relevant though. I know we were going off. We're talking about when Villa got relegated and if they could have been saved by Mark Bunn, and that's the case they're trying to make in this article. But when you're judging Johnson and Nyland, it's very hard to do without that amount of data. Yeah. We don't really, that's not in the mainstream.
Yeah, all right. Back to Albion. Their last 6 games, they've won 3, drawn 2, lost 1, most recently drawn 1 against Brentford on Monday night. We're now recording this on Tuesday. We played Saturday, so will that difference in rest time for the two sides make a difference, do you think? Because Albion put a lot in on Monday night.
Yeah, it should do, but I don't think it actually amounts to that much because there's still a fairly decent gap in between both games.
Yeah.
It's not like the Christmas period, which we're coming up to. It's not that madness. And again, when Villa played Wolves and then a few days later had QPR, I think the gap's bigger than that even. So I don't know. I don't think there's much of an argument there. But West Brom can certainly feel a bit miffed about the game and how it's been rearranged because you're moving a local derby from Saturday 3 p.m. or it was going to be on TV, so 5:30 p.m. or 12 p.m. I'm moving it to Friday at 8.
And then you've just played on the Monday as well. To play Monday and Friday is not the same as playing Saturday, Tuesday, but it's still closer, obviously, than we've Saturday, Friday is obviously an advantage. Whether it counts for anything in the long run, we'll see. Yeah,
I think the Baggies can join the Against Modern Football club with Leeds and us now that they're on TV, and they're realising the effect of being a fairly quote-unquote big club in a small pond. Villa have got a lot of work to do. Our season was almost dead and buried as far back as October.
Yeah.
And to come back, we're looking like a top 2 team. We're looking like a title winning team. But it's all well and good saying that. You could just be like Fulham, go to the playoffs, and you have to go through that route to get promoted when you should have kicked on earlier and won the title. Fulham, if there was about 10 more games in the season, they would have done it, but they kicked on far too late. They were the best team by far last season, and only Wolves really stood out amongst anyone. Villa kicked on late, and they missed out. They stumbled at times.
Yeah.
So I think Villa under Dean Smith, they need to take every game and look at it as a win. This game's massive because West Brom are gatekeeping that top 2 place. They're guarding it. They're number 3, 35 points above everyone else. Villa need to shorten that gap, and the best way to do it now, you've beat Middlesbrough, so that's massive. But beating West Brom is huge, and then winning against Stoke the next game.
And Leeds.
You've not only caught up, and Leeds, you've not only caught up, but you've pushed the teams trying to catch you up down. Yeah. So it's a month full of 6-pointers, it looks like, and that league table, it's looking really positive for Villa. You say 9 points. That gets made up of 3 games.
People were saying, it might not happen. And we said, okay, we'll give it a few months until we might see Smith Star come in, and we might have to go through a bit more bad to get to the good. But going to places like Derby and Middlesbrough and winning 3-0 and playing very good football, I don't think many people would have expected that 2 months ago. We usually go through like predicted 11 and stuff, but I'm guessing the team will probably be the same because I don't think we had any injuries. There's no one else really was available. I think the team picks itself, so I don't want to sit here and run through the team. And maybe Hutton comes back in from suspension, but personally I've got no reason to drop Elmo. I would keep it the same. just because you've won 3-0 at Middlesbrough. It was a week ago. I think you play the same team. So I put a tweet out earlier just asking people, look, what are you thinking ahead of Friday? I'm going to just flick through some of the replies. Thomas Williams says, my main thought is I wish it didn't clash with the office Christmas party, in which case I'd have been in the Hawthorns on Friday instead of an average sports bar in Nottingham. I mean, bad times, Thomas.
Yeah, I think that's a bit unfortunate, isn't it? Really?
Paul says, I fear a reality check. West Brom should have been 3 up at half-time last night and have the potential to expose what remains a shaky back five. Forest hurt us in a way Albion are capable of, whilst Borough are very one-dimensional. Is that a possibility, do you think, that Borough weren't able to come at us like Albion will be able to?
These are two strong teams with firepower, and they are, there's a lot at play here. There's a lot of storyline, there's a lot of narrative. It's a derby. There's two teams going at each other. It's going to be open, and it could be ironic and be a 0-0, but I don't think that will be the case. So, yeah, two teams really going at each other. And there's definitely vulnerabilities in Villa to be exposed.
Villa Mad says, our fans are probably getting a little bit carried away at the moment. I'm thinking a draw would be a good result, 1-1 with Abraham to score. To be honest, yeah, a draw is a good result. Going away to Albion, they're third. We're, 5 points behind them or whatever it is. Going there and getting a draw, I'd take that right now. But you look at us and you look at them and you think, yeah, there's probably goals in this game. And if we can go there and play like we do away now, where we almost just blow teams away 3-0, maybe we can go there and get the win, and if we can, it's fantastic. But yeah, I think he's probably right. Maybe we are getting a little bit carried away, and a draw is a decent result.
Yeah, for sure. I think a point here, it's just a stalemate, keeps the table in shape, and builds up for a better second leg of the fixture when West Brom come to Villa Park in more dramatic circumstances, because we'll be heading towards the end of the season when they come round.
Robert Parker says, West Brom are a quality outfit. Seems some of their fans are unhappy with the manager. I'm hoping this is where we will be able to take advantage with Dean. With the game evenly poised, I'd imagine the team that takes the game by the scruff of the neck will win. We
hyped up Birmingham, didn't we? A lot of people, well, not us, but a lot of people were scared of what Gary Monk could do, and he was rather exposed and his team were exposed. I think West Brom have a little bit more about them, so I don't... That being said, it is a derby. There's a lot to play for. It could end up, you've got some bruises in midfield. So, yeah, I think it could be go to loggerheads. I think there might be a red card in this one.
Yeah, so prediction then. Let's finish before this camera dies again. What are you thinking? You going for the win?
I'm going for the win, and I'm going for a 3-2 win for Aston Villa coming back. I reckon Villa could come back from 2-0 down.
Actually, similar to mine. We had to do our predictions for the month for the podcast earlier, so I've just scrolled back to find what I said. And I went for Villa. I went for Albion 2, Villa 2. Gone for the classic cliche that there will be goals in this game. I think a draw is probably fair, so high scoring draw 2-2 is what I'm going for, but I mean, if we can nick it, I'll be over the moon. So thanks to James for joining me on this preview again. Now Dan's away, he's on holiday until the middle of next week, so he might be back for the Stoke game. If not, me and James will be back to do a preview for that game. James and I might meet up to do a chat about the Albion game, do like a post-match review if we have time over the weekend, but we'll see. There is going to be a podcast next week. Tom and Chris are doing it. I don't know what day that will be yet. I would imagine it'll be sort of early part of next week. They'll talk about the Albion game as well if me and James haven't. Yeah, apologies for the camera cutting off during this recording. Apparently it's too hot in my room in December for this camera to keep recording. I'm buying a new one just after Christmas, so hopefully that issue will go away. But yeah, thanks for listening to me and James ramble on about stats, and Mark Bunn's Premier League record came out at one point. Hopefully you've enjoyed this preview. Here's to 3 points for Aston Villa on Friday. Thanks for watching, and up the Villa. If you enjoyed that video, why not watch another one? Click one of the video options on screen now, and if you don't mind, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.